Well, folks, earlier this year, we know longtime Republican Senate leader Mitch McConnell announced that he was not going to run for re-election in 2026, capping over 40 years, 4 decades in the Senate, a behemoth in the Senate, leaving his seat vacant for the first time since 1984. 1984. It is a huge seat that's up for grabs, a seat that is going to be most likely be held by the Republicans. And now we have the political pundit Scott Jennings, who is best known for really roasting the shit out of the libs on CNN at 10 p.m. every night. He has said that if Trump wants this to happen, he would run to replace Mitch McConnell. Now, Mitch McConnell was a political titan, not seeking re-election after 40 years. Remember, this is what the map looked like in 1984. Reagan won Kentucky by over 20 points. Mitch McConnell barely, by about a half a percentage point, beat out the incumbent senator at the time. Won the state of Kentucky by about a half a percentage point. Won it by about 4 points. And ever since then, it has slowly shifted more and more and more to the right. It just keeps going further and further. And obviously, there's little pullbacks here or there, but ultimately, it is a seat that has trended heavily to the right since Mitch McConnell was elected back in 1984. Now, Scott Jennings, he's 47 years old. He is a conservative political commentator on CNN right now. Recently just signed a big deal to keep him at CNN. We don't know how much they're paying him, but obviously no one watches CNN for everybody else. They watch it for Scott Jennings. They definitely don't watch it for Anna Navarro. There's no doubt about that. But he is known for really defending President Donald Trump's agenda and sparring with the liberal panelists on these shows. He is a great communicator, a great debater. He is just absolutely great at this game that you have to play. He is just really, really good at it. He's a fierce defender of Donald Trump's policies, and he makes it make sense. He can take a super complicated issue, break it down, and he can help you understand it at such a, something super complicated. You can break it down into bite-sized pieces that really help you understand exactly what is going on. Now, he was born in Kentucky, currently lives in Western Kentucky, and was a graduate of the University of Louisville, where he was McConnell's scholar. He was a longtime Republican strategist with deep ties to Kentucky politics. Now, like we said, he is a former advisor to Mitch McConnell. He worked on multiple Mitch McConnell campaigns in the early 2000s and served as a special assistant to President George W. Bush and deputy under Karl Rove in Bush's second term. Now, he also founded the PR firm, a Kentucky-based consultant firm in 2012, which is called Run Switch PR. Now, Scott Jennings really gained a lot of national visibility on CNN, who's often praised by conservatives and people on the right and in the Trump administration for challenging liberal narratives. He's just not afraid to do it. And he recently appeared at Trump's 100-day rally in Michigan, was actually called on stage during this, was called on stage at Donald Trump's 100-day rally in Michigan, where he really, let's just take a listen. I don't need to explain it.
Thank you. Michigan, we were flying in here today, and I said, look at these farms. I got to get a farm in Michigan, because when you own as many libs as I do, you got to put a place to put them all. Thank you all very much. Scott.
It's like, you got to like that. It's like, come on. That's pretty good. Come on, you give me a break. Like that's pretty good. And some want to say that he's this MAGA darling, but at the end of the day, it's like no one is perfectly MAGA or not. I think he just makes a lot of sense. I'm not looking for someone to be MAGA. I'm looking for someone with some common sense. If you disagree with things that Donald Trump is promoting, you better just make it make sense. That's all I'm saying. There are plenty of things that I disagree with Trump on. In the Republican Party, still voted for him, still support him. You're gonna, if you've watched my channel at all for 5 minutes, you're gonna know my critiques of him. And people think that Scott Jennings is some MAGA darling. No, he's not. He's from the George Bush administration. He's from that era of the Republican Party. But guess what? He was not like people like Mitt Romney, who just didn't know how to adapt to the party. He didn't know how to adapt with the changes within inside the Republican Party. He did not become irrelevant. He actually became much more relevant because he figured out how to adapt as the Republican Party changed. We're a much different Republican Party today than we were 25 years ago. But Scott Jennings, he has a mix of media prominence, political experience, and his Kentucky roots do make him a notable contender for Mitch McConnell's seat in the 2026 United States Senate election in Kentucky. But is he actually running? As of right now, no. We don't really know anything as of right now. Now, there were some recent reports from, I believe, was it Reuters? I know Fox News had a piece on it, and I believe, was it the Washington Examiner? I think they both had a piece on this. But they were reporting that Jennings is considering running to replace Mitch McConnell, like we said, who announced his retirement in February. Now, Jennings responded to some of these reports about a Senate bid, but didn't confirm, saying, basically saying the internet's a crazy place, and we have there's a lot of space between now and next May when you're going to see these primaries really start to occur. But the Washington Examiner did say that Jennings is, quote, open to running, but said he would need Donald Trump's approval if he were to jump in this race. At the White House Correspondents' Dinner, it sounds like he had made some offhanded comments there that he would be open to running for Mitch McConnell's seat if Donald Trump gave him the nod. Obviously, there's some pretty big names in this race already, like Daniel Cameron, the former Attorney General from Kentucky. He was the nominee for the Republicans for governor in 2023. He lost really a close election to Andy Beshear in 2023. I believe he was the state's first black Attorney General, Daniel Cameron. Yeah, Beshear won by 5 points. Wow. Gosh, he only won it by less than half a percentage point back in 2019. Now he's winning it. You're winning it by 5 points. That's a pretty big shift. And then also U.S. Representative Andy Barr, who's been a representative for, I think, like a little over a decade now at this point. You've also had some other people like Nate Morris, Kelly Craft, who is the former ambassador to the United Nations under Trump's first administration after Nikki Haley, but some big names that aren't in here. Obviously Mitch McConnell, but James Comer, Thomas Massey, David Osborne, Speaker of the House. You have a couple representatives, Mitch McConnell. And Andy Barr has picked up a number of pretty big endorsements right now and has $5.3 million cash on hand right now. Hal Rogers. You have Steve Scalise, Elise Stefanik. You have some state senators. Kim King, who's a state representative. And then Riley Gaines, who's an activist, obviously known for really being discriminated against by the transgender community. We're not going to get into that right now. But obviously some other big names, Andy Barr and Daniel Cameron, are some pretty big names that are in this race right now. And on the American Experiment podcast, Jennings did hint at running if the Democrat governor, Andy Beshear, enters the race, which is kind of interesting because I think Beshear would be pretty competitive in that race. Now, there is some talks, maybe Beshear's running in 28, maybe he's trying to keep his options open for that, but I think he'd be well served to run for the Senate, Beshear. But I think it would be a good race. But ultimately, we don't have any data right now. Obviously, Daniel Cameron has been leading the polls. We just have to see. We need some polls to come out with Scott Jennings in these polls. We need to hear Trump. What does he have to say on this? And apparently, there's been some encouragement from inside the GOP that are really privately encouraging Scott Jennings to run. There's conservative pundit Eric Erickson posted on X a couple months ago that there's only one person to replace Mitch McConnell. One person to replace Mitch McConnell. And you're looking at him right here. You are looking at him right here. But there's a lot of buzz growing around a potential bid by Jennings. Obviously, this is a safe seat. Right now it's rated as a solid Republican seat. Look at this. The only other candidate who's in this race on the Democrats has $32,000 cash on hand. That's kind of pathetic. But ultimately, for a Republican stronghold, Mitch McConnell won re-election in 2020 by 20 points. It's like, it was not a close race by any means. And there was a lot of national attention on this race. Amy McGrath, she's a former, I believe she was in the military or something like that. She served in the Marine Corps, flew 89 combat missions. Yeah, she made a lot of big headlines during that election, but then ultimately, I remember sitting there, election night, 2020, I remember watching that, and it was like, Kentucky's one of the first states where the polls close. It's like Kentucky and Indiana, and there's, one other state in there that closes, and it was, zero votes counted, and they were like, oh, we're predicting the winner. It's going to be Mitch McConnell. It's like they put so much effort and focus on this Amy McGrath, and then, they didn't even count a vote, and they already knew that Mitch McConnell won. Kind of pathetic. Sorry to go off track right there, but little memory that popped into my head. But as of right now, Scott Jennings has not officially announced anything as of today, May 1st, and the Kentucky primary isn't for another year. It's not until May 2026, which gives him a lot of time to decide if this is something Trump's going to think about it. Obviously, he says Trump needs to give him the approval if he's going to do this. Because ultimately, he's going to leave a cushy job at CNN where he's getting paid a lot of money to do this. But ultimately, if you're going to build a campaign, you kind of need to get going. You kind of need to get going like pretty quick, like by this summer. But it's already very clear. He's suggesting and is seriously weighing a run, aligning himself with Trump's influence, and really in a key GOP primary. But I think it'd be fair if he jumped in this race and Trump endorsed him. It would piss off a lot of people. I really do. Like Daniel Cameron and Andy Barr, these are big names in Kentucky politics. And they probably see it as cutting the line, that this is their rightful seat here. And yeah, I think it could stir up some issues. Ultimately, I really don't care. I think you should do what's best for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And if the voters want Scott Jennings, the voters want Scott Jennings. What can you say? But clearly, Jennings has a lot of visibility and GOP connections, and he may not be committed yet, but his big next steps really hinge on Trump's endorsement at this point. But this is not going to be a competitive race. McConnell was 83 years old. We saw how badly he froze. It was terrible. It's like Mitch McConnell, it's been terrible. This would have been his 8th term if he were to run. And I think it's going to be a pretty big battle. Even if Jennings is in here, you have Cameron, Barr, and Jennings all in this. And maybe if you see someone like Kelly Craft, this is going to be a serious battle. Because whoever wins the primary, that's who's going to go on. They're most likely going to win the general election. That's just the reality. But I think Trump's endorsement will carry a lot of weight, and I think Trump's endorsement will set the stage here. But I think there could be some issues with Scott Jennings. Obviously we're not on campaign mode with Trump, but, one of his big places where he's distanced himself from the Trump administration was when Trump pardoned the J6 rioters. That was something where he broke with Trump, and I don't think Scott Jennings is going to be someone who's going to bow down on that. We're going to see what happens. But that could be a liability for him in a MAGA-leaning primary, despite his Trump-friendly persona on CNN. But I think, a lot of it, he markets himself so good. Everyone knows who Scott Jennings is. Nobody's thinking about the J6 rioters. Yes, my guess is Cameron and Andy Barr would probably put a lot of money into trying to expose him that way. But if Trump gives him the endorsement, it's over with. It really is. And the guy's good on the camera. He's savvy. He's media savvy. He's good in front of the camera. And a Trump alignment could make him a really formidable candidate in this race here. But that's going to wrap things up for today, folks. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think Scott Jennings should jump in this race? Yes, no, indifferent. Who would you vote for if the primary was held today? Would you vote for Barr, Cameron, or someone like Scott Jennings? Let me know down below. As always, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you never miss another video from us again in the future, and we will catch you next time, folks.